Order, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, doing roll call. Commissioner or Councilmember Lundin is working late tonight. He got called to an emergency boiler service, so he unfortunately will not be here until later, roughly 8:30. And then we do have the open council member seat. Is there any public comment tonight? If so, feel free to come forward. Hearing none, we will move on to adopting the agenda. Are there any changes or additions?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. No, there are no changes.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Heeman, second from Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. There are no proclamations or commendations or certificates tonight, so we'll move on to approving the city council meeting minutes from January 6th, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes?
I did have a question on that. So I noticed in the minutes the Chamber of Commerce Committee is not appointed to anyone. Did we decide to table that, or was that, I thought I was going to take that unless somebody could take it? It's not mentioned in there, and that was, I believe, the only one missing, so.
Well, and I believe Stephanie says she goes to almost all of those.
In the minutes, Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor and Council, I believe that just got missed in the minutes, and we'll make sure we add that. And we do have it in the table in the resolution that was approved, that it is the mayor.
Okay.
So we'll make that change. Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. I will second Commissioner Holmgren's motion to that, with that then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0 to approve the minutes. Announcements, Parks and Recreation Board, Tuesday, January 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. City Council goal setting, Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. City Council meeting regularly scheduled Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And the Economic Development Authority, Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, immediately following the City Council meeting. Are there any council committee reports?
I had one. So in my community education meeting, a lot of discussion of trying to reduce costs, so they send out these books every year, I believe, but they're trying to reduce the amount that this costs per unit, so they're looking at taking out the pictures and just listing the classes that they offer, and then hopefully reducing that by 33% by having a QR code on the cover or close to the front, so you can go online and it'll have all the specifics on each of the classes, so you can sign up. So that is what they discussed at that meeting.
I'm glad to hear that. I think a lot of our leadership in our community is trying to reduce costs for everything and everybody, so I think that's great. I would like to give a shout out to Matt Sylvester, again, for being diligent with money. He was allotted money to replace their 4500 series Chevy, and he decided that they didn't need it this year. And I think that is awesome when the city staff is willing to not buy something even though they have the money for it. I think the residents of our city work the same way in their household. If they have a vehicle that still works 100%, they're not going to replace it. And I think it's great that the city staff in all of our departments do that. So I'd just like to give him a shout out and the rest of our city staff for that. Any other council committee reports?
Fire board was pretty uneventful. There was talk that this fall they should be able to go ahead and close on this building. Staff is aware. They're working with Mike. We'll probably hear more about it this spring.
Sounds good. So we will move on to business item K1, interview candidates for appointment to vacant council member seat on Isetti City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do have 4 applicants here this evening. Kenneth Waldo is not here this evening, so he won't be able to participate in the application for the vacant council seat. So we will start in order with Jacob Miller, Chris Rosemark, Nathan Chapman, and Nicholas Peterson. We do have a microphone, so we'll start with Jacob Miller first. If you want to go up, the questions are up there. And I'd like to remind the council that the questions are before the applicant. You have the questions as well. If you have any questions to ask, please ask all the candidates. So we would start with this candidate and go through all of them to make sure that they have been asked the same question. And at the end, council will have a vote.
Sounds great, thank you. Thank you, Jake, for coming in. I appreciate you taking the time to do so. So we just have a few questions here for you. So first, tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council seat.
So, I ran in the last special election against Jester, who beat me by a lot of votes. So I have a lot of signs I still have to kind of work in here, so my plan is to kind of continue on with the city, or try to get on with the city council at some point. So a little bit about myself. I served in the Navy for 5 years. During that, I worked at Walter Reed. That was my last duty station. Got out of the Navy there. The wife and I decided that we liked Maryland. Stayed there for a little while. And then a bunch of protests happened. She got a better job here in Minnesota, which thankfully now she can cover the bills, and I can spend a little bit more time in the community and doing the things I want and picking a job that I would like to do. I continued on with my law enforcement journey. And I actually picked a job here in our community, which is a little bit more unheard of in today's climate, due to the fact that, I mean, you can work any job in law enforcement and make more money in a metro, but I chose to stay here where I think the people in the community support us, which is, I think, a lot more beneficial than an extra few dollars here or there, right? Besides that, I've only lived here for just about 3 years. I think that having different perspectives and knowledge of different communities and seeing communities that I think of, at least basing it on Isani here, where it's pretty reasonable, and then seeing some really shattered communities out east in Maryland where it's just a complete, lack of a better word, dumpster fire. I don't want to live in that. So that's part of the reason I came here. Besides that, I think that having someone that can kind of balance between, you know, their personal experience and then having someone who's kind of green as well. I've never done anything within the government as far as like council or anything like that. So I think I'm a little bit more easy to kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of be moldable, right? Besides that, I got a little daughter. She's about 3 years old. It's kind of the reason why I was the last guy here. I had to put her down to bed and leave her with the sitter. And as I was sitting here, I think I just got a notification that she's up, so. Besides that, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, great. 2, if you were going to describe Isani to a new resident, what would you say?
I think it kind of marries in with my my introduction. I think our cities kind of has a small town feel, but at the same time, you can only maintain that small town if we grow a little bit, right? Where I live on Bel Air, when I was going to school here, it didn't exist. It was a field, right? So seeing where we've grown and having, people with different perspectives and different viewpoints can kind of help us kind of have that balance, right? I think to kind of explain it to a new resident would be like, hey, I think it's just that small town feel, and I think there's a couple things that I see in some other questions here that I can kind of circle back to on.
Sure. Question 3, what is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
I think getting ahead of it, and having that ability to take the ownership, and we're gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up in any job you do, anything you do in life. Being able to, take the egg when it hits you and move on and carry on with it. I think any issues where there's any sort of controversy to it is taking that leadership team approach and then handling it as it comes.
Okay. What previous community involvement have you had in the city of Isani or another city?
As far as cities, I've lived in a few cities on the East Coast. It's not like Minnesota. And let me tell you, when I came back to Minnesota and people were like saying hi to you in the store, it's kind of, you don't do that over there, so it kind of throws you off a little bit. So it's kind of the reason I lived a little bit more in the county when I was out there. But kind of circling back to it, coming back to that city environment. I think that for me, it's just living in those communities. I've never had any like direct leadership working within them. But I do have the mindset and the ability to problem solve working within them, right? When I was in the East Coast, I was a county deputy, so we had multitude of cities similar to Isani that had small PDs that we'd have to go in and help and problem solve and deal with the residents there, and still have that ability to, you know, get everything handled and still be respectful and whatnot.
Okay. What skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a council member?
I think it's having the, like I said before, that ownership. I'm big on that. You're gonna hear me say it a lot, and I think that's what we're kind of missing in a lot of our leaders today. I think everyone wants to be right. Everyone wants to get the I gotcha moment. That's not me. If I mess something up, it is what it is, right? I think that handling each of those options or each of those or having that experience that understand that and realize that, you know, we're all human beings here. We make mistakes. I think that's what you want in a leader.
Sure. Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a city council member.
So, when I was running for the special election, I got to sit on a lot of meetings and seeing things completely change. Like, you and I had a conversation a while back about splash pad, right? Great thing. However, when the money went to, I think it was Bluebird Park, right?
Correct.
The money's gone now, right? So seeing things where it starts from A and ends at Z, and being able to kind of be malleable with it, I think that's a big thing, right? For council members, being able to have that, all right, there's not a whole lot, you have your things that you're gonna stand your ground on, but being able to work with the other members, the mayor, and then what the citizens want, right? I could want us to have, just to make an example here, brand new building, but the taxpayers and the people of our city don't want that. That's what we need to do as leaders and as representation for our citizens.
Sure. What do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to those issues?
So top priorities or greatest issues in the city, I think there's some conversation about like the waste treatment and water and things like that. It's step by step, right? That's a huge, big issue. Like, we've got other candidates here, so I don't want to go on a long tirade here, but just being able to work within your leaders, look for ways to fix an issue like you guys were talking about, signage, right? How can we get signage out? What about a billboard? Things like that, being able to just come up with ideas and spitball some things. It may not be the right thing, but having that ability to go back and forth with, because I might say something that gets us close, and then Holmgren steps in, or Heeman steps in, or you step in, you're like, actually, we could take it to that next step. So I think having that ability to kind of work each problem step by step is pretty big.
If you could change some aspect about Isani governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
As far as change goes, I think we're, for the most part, on the right track, right? I've seen cities south of us where, they spend money just because they can, and they get bailed out just because they can, because they have the infrastructure to do that, right? Being able to work with less is great, and looking at at the end of the day, I live in the city, right? Whatever we decide to pay for, I pay for. We all pay for, right? So being able to have that responsibility is big, and not going down that path where we get way too frisky with it, for lack of a better word. But besides that, that's pretty much it for that one.
Okay. City council requires a time commitment which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 PM and 7 PM, as well as reading prep prior to meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Luckily, I get every Monday, Tuesday off, so works perfectly with my schedule.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
I think that having a candidate that's put skin in the game, right? I went, like I said, in a special election, and didn't come out on top, but at the same time still, and I think Jeff can contest those. I think we ran a pretty respectful, campaign against one another. We weren't throwing haymakers or, running smear campaigns. That's a joke, by the way. But besides that, I think that I put a lot of my time, a lot of money, right? Because campaign signs are not cheap. Like Jeff and I.
Yeah.
I like that, or especially the bigger ones. And let me tell you, when you have a huge sign, trying to get rid of that down the line is kind of a pain. But besides that, I think just having someone who's put their time, put their paycheck essentially behind themselves. I think that's big.
Sure. So do any other council members have any other questions? And they do have to be asked of everybody.
No?
I don't.
Okay, I have a few. Yep, here we go. Would you be able to make your work schedule at all flexible for committee meetings?
It depends on the day. I have my biggest thing, I'm gonna have my off days, I have the little one. And for the most part, I got a sitter. Ironically, this is probably the most hectic I've ever had to do that, because my wife's in Florida right now, enjoying the nice Florida weather for work. Meanwhile, we're here at -15. So just want to put that out there, that I'm here, and I could be in Florida right now where it's warm. But I think that's something that could be worked. It just depends on the scheduling and whatnot. I could be pretty flex on that.
Okay. Are you willing to utilize Facebook and social media to try and help with resident interaction and informing the public on what's going on within the city?
Yes.
How long have you lived in Isani?
3 years.
And then prior to that?
I lived in, Hagerstown, Maryland, and before that, Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay. What will be the most challenging aspect of being on city council for you personally?
Honestly, learning nomenclature, like all that stuff, like the eyes, just the back, kind of like what you guys do in the back end. I think that would be a little challenging, but I think I'm pretty quick read on things, and the way I learn is I just have to do. That's just how I learn, so.
Okay. And then the last one, you kind of touched on this already, but how do you view spending on amenities and how do you justify it?
Based on what we have, right? If, like you said earlier in the meeting, hey, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? I would love to have a brand new, truck in a garage. I don't, all right? We have a single family car that we drive around. We make it with that, just so that way we can be a little bit more responsible with with the wife's money. Well, God, I felt that.
Okay, sounds good. If nobody else has any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we will take the next applicant, who is Chris Rosemark, if you could come up. And we have some questions for you. Thank you, Chris, for putting your name in the hat and coming out.
I appreciate it.
So first, just tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council seat.
Well, obviously, my name is Chris Rosemark. Me and my wife moved to Isani 8.5 years ago. We have a 9-year-old son, and we've been married for 14 years. I honestly just put my name in, basically to give me something to do better myself and learn more about our community.
Sure. Number two, if you were going to describe Isani to a new resident, what would you say?
Basically, how I think of it is that we're a small, safe, close-knit community situated right here on the Rum River. Let's see, our school systems, I love. My kids started going to IPS when doing like ECFE. Now he's at the intermediate school, and we've loved every single teacher that he's been with. The principals at both are amazing, and I think the teachers really care about the students themselves. Let's see. Oh, the parade, rodeo, you really can't, talk about Isani without those. The BMX track, I think that brings a lot of people up to Isani as well. And that's about it.
Okay. What is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
Basically, I believe that you have to keep a calm, clear mind. You can't take opposing views personally. Let's see. You have to try to find a common ground with those who oppose your ideas. Listen, ask questions. You're not gonna make everybody happy, but you try to do your best. But there's just some people that, you're not gonna make happy. It is what it is. But if you can find a common ground and work together, I think, that deals with it pretty well.
Okay. What previous community involvement have you had in Isani or another city?
Honestly, not much. That's why I'm up here. I've just helped basically coach my son's baseball team when they needed it. And that's about all I have, so.
Okay. What skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a city council member?
Well, I manage our family-run small business just down the road here. And it's a asphalt seal coating repair company. And my experience with parking lots, public works, dealing with basically asphalt maintenance, the trails, the parking lots, on a year or summer basis, since it's a seasonal job. I deal with thousands of customers each summer and listen to their needs, wants, their questions, concerns. And it's all about numbers with us. If it doesn't make dollars, it really doesn't make sense. So we're very kind of frugal about that, and I think bringing that up here would help as well.
Okay. Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a city council member.
So I believe, like, setting agendas, managing land use for the city, for zoning development, engaging with the local community, and listening to our residents, their concerns and interests, and then definitely overseeing the budgets for public works, fire, police, and the spending. Basically, the spending in the budgets for them.
Okay. What do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to these?
A couple things I was looking into is our city growth. In 2010, our census was 5,251 residents. 10 years later, in 2020, it was 6,804. And that's 1,553 more people in 10 years. But now in 2024, we went up 9.43%. And so right now, the city's sitting at 7,532 people. And basically what I'm looking at is we have limited space. The west side of 65 is pretty much all already developed. We have some on the east side, developing to the north right now and northeast. So I think they have to look deeply into, like, the city growth. Is the city going to expand the city limits? I don't think so in the next 3 to 5 years, but after that, I think we're gonna have to kind of look into that.
Okay. If you could change some aspect about Isani governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
Honestly, basically kind of what Jake said is, it's going in the right direction is what I see. What we would kind of like, what I've been looking into is Bluebird Park, kind of with some more amenities. The playground's pretty small. I can bring up the splash pad. That's obviously not gonna happen. you know, a couple more picnic shelters and grills over there, because every summer people are asking, where can we go? Where can we go? You know, have a kid's birthday party. They want to do it outside. There's one shelter over at Blooper Park. I think adding on a couple more, would definitely help. What else I have here? Oh, something else I wanted to talk about is, you know where the sidewalk is behind Coburn's and the bank right there? It stops there, and then it starts again at, just right past the Alamo. So kids from my neighborhood, in the intermediate school neighborhood, they have to walk on 5 on the side. I think that that sidewalk needs to meet. And also, there's about 4 crosswalks. There's, what, 3 on Whiskey Road, and then there's one right there on 5 in the intermediate school neighborhood that I believe they need to redo those. It'd be nice if they could have the push button with like the strobe lights so people actually stop. You know, many times anybody here has seen nobody stop for those kids in the crosswalk. And I think it's just a safety concern.
Okay. City council requires a time commitment which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., as well as reading prep prior to meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
This would be my main commitment, so.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
No, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate the opportunity, and basically just listen to what we all have to say.
Okay, great. And I do have a whole heap of questions, same questions you just heard. If my iPad will load here. Okay. Would you be able to make your work schedule at all flexible for committee meetings?
Summertime, it's going to be a little bit harder, but if I make my schedule, and I know ahead of time, I think I'd be able to do that. Wintertime, not a problem.
Okay.
Available all winter, so,
Okay,
unless I'm plowing, but I'll still make time.
okay. Are you willing to utilize Facebook and social media to try and help with resident interaction and informing the public on what's going on with the city?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. How long have you lived in the city of Isani, and where have you lived otherwise?
We moved, so 8.5 years ago, 8 years, 4 months, whatever it is. Before that, we had a house in Coon Rapids for 5 years, and then before that, I grew up in Forest Lake, so I was out that way.
Okay. What will be the most challenging aspect of being on city council for you personally?
Basically, learning everything that goes behind the closed doors. That's basically what I'm kind of, and what you guys all are involved in. And it's just something interesting, so I think learning about it would be a benefit, so.
Okay. How do you view spending on amenities, and how do you justify it?
If it's needed, I say, you know, it really has to be looked into. It's gonna depend on the cost, how often it's gonna be used. Basically, like you said, if it doesn't make, or I said, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. There's no reason, like you said, they needed a brand new 4,500 or 450, whatever, kind of truck, so honestly, just stay within your means, stay within your budget.
Okay, great. That is all of the questions. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for answering those.
Thanks.
We will go on to the next name on the list, Nathan Chapman, if you could please come forward. We'll ask you some questions. Yep. Yeah, thank you for coming in, Nathan. I just have a couple of questions for you whenever you're ready.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council seat.
Well, I'm a conservative veteran, a strong First and Second Amendment advocate. Oh, thank you. appreciate it. I honorably served in the Navy for 8 years. I'm an information security specialist and an assistant vice president of security access operations for US Bank. I have strong problem-solving skills. I've lived here for about 3-ish years now, almost. And I believe the city's on the right track for the most part, and I just want to keep it going that way.
Okay. Question 2, if you were going to describe Isani to a new resident, what would you say?
It's a small, semi-rural community or city with residents of a mostly conservative viewpoint, and a great place to raise a family with an emphasis on community and veterans.
Okay. What is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
With the facts. I personally like to gather all the information first, and but I'm not afraid to just confront things head-on if need be. I feel very strongly about eliminating some of the issues that I've seen in society and other communities and so on and so forth that thankfully our community doesn't have too much of an issue with, so.
Okay. What previous community involvement have you had in Isani or another city?
Let's see. I'm a member of the local VFW. I've volunteered my time here and in previous cities. I did free bikes for kids down in Minneapolis. Let's see. I do hands-on gifts for seniors. I write holiday cards and stuff and get them sent out to seniors every year. In high school, I did Habitat for Humanity, Gasopolis Council on Aging also when I was younger. It's like a Meals on Wheels sort of thing. My family and stuff keeps me kind of busy. I got an 8-year-old at home, and my wife's pregnant with another, so.
All right. What skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a council member?
Let's see. I've been kind of involved in politics a little bit, back and forth, kind of just mostly seeing everything that's been going on online and in various forms. I left the Navy, also seeing some of the issues with climate and culture within the Navy as well. Seeing that it was even worse outside the Navy, unfortunately, when I got out. And I think it's really important to kind of get society and stuff on the right track, so.
Okay. Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a city council member.
Let's see. Legislation, policymaking, budget, representation, advocacy, community involvement, oversight, ethics, listening to your constituents and hearing them out. I think it's crucial to shaping the immediate environment, quality of life, and future development of the city.
Okay. Explain what you believe, did I just ask that one? Explain what you believe are the primary roles or responsibilities of a city council member?
That's the one we
Okay,
just did.
I thought so. What do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to those issues?
Like I said, I think the city is on a really great track already. Not a huge fan of some of the energy stuff that we decided, like the solar panels and whatnot, but I understand that it's already paid for and whatnot. I think that for the most part, it's important to stick with liquid natural gas until we can start going to like a small modular reactors or micro reactors, actually. It's more beneficial in the long run because a lot of solar panels and wind panels and such, or solar and wind, can't think of the term, windmills, the blades and such, they end up stacking up in garbage, basically. They just usually get thrown away, unfortunately, because it costs a lot less money to just throw them away than it is to recycle a lot of those things. One solar panel, for instance, costs like $20 to $30 to recycle it and have a new one, and or just buy a new one. Whereas it costs $1 to $2 just to throw it away. which tends to be kind of a concern in the long run, anyway.
Sure. If you could change some aspect about Isani governance, direction, focus, what would that be?
I don't think I had anything for that one, because it's honestly on a really good track. This community is a great community. Since I've been here, it's been quite the pleasure to live here. Everybody that I've ran into or met has been cordial, and it's been a good place.
Okay. City council requires a time commitment which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 PM and 7 PM, as well as reading prep prior to meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Yep. No problem.
Okay, is there anything else you would like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
No, my political leanings are pretty unwavering. I generally want what's best for society and the community, and for both of them to succeed. That's
Okay. All right, so now we'll go on to the questions that I had. Will you be able to make your work schedule at all flexible for committee meetings?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I work salary, so I can kind of move things around as I need.
Okay. Are you willing to utilize Facebook and social media to try and help with resident interaction and informing the public on what's going on within the city?
Yeah, do we have our own public Facebook page that's like shared and whatnot? Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
How long have you lived in Isani?
About 3 years.
Okay. What will be the most challenging aspect of being on city council?
I don't know. Probably some of the process and stuff. I'm not like super familiar. I do watch congressional stuff every now and then, but I'm sure it's a little bit different and whatnot. So.
Okay. And how do you view spending on amenities and how do you justify it?
So it would be just like myself. I don't really spend anything that I don't need. I drive a 2016 Mazda, so I don't feel the need to spend money unnecessarily, and I think that's really important.
Okay, great, thank you. We appreciate you coming out. And number 4 on the list, as was mentioned, Kenneth Waldo was not able to make it tonight. He did let me know that he wouldn't be able to make it. So next on the list is Nicholas Peterson. If you could please come forward and we'll ask you some questions. Hi, Nick. Thank you for coming in tonight. Tell us about yourself and why you put your name in for consideration for the open council seat.
My name is Nicholas Peterson. My wife and I have been married for 11 years and moved here in 2018. At the time we were living in St. Paul, crime got worse and worse. It ended with a police chase crashing into our neighbor's house, and my wife was pregnant. So we looked around, saw 120 different houses around the North Metro, did a bunch of investigation, found Isani was where we wanted to go. So now we've been here since 2018. Our 5th child is now on the way. I've been in manufacturing for the last 8 years, having previously been a train conductor and served in the Minnesota National Guard for over a decade as a military police officer. Initially, I did not have a desire to be on the council. However, many people keep asking me to get involved in local governance, so here I am. In preparation for this interview, I went back and listened to all the meetings for the last 3 months and heard many points of where I agree with the council members. However, I do feel that there's some input that I could offer that isn't there.
Okay. If you were going to describe Isani to a new resident, what would you say?
If they were to have read the League of Minnesota Cities handbook, I would tell them it's a level 4 city. Outside of that, I would say that it's a small city, close enough to the metro, close enough to St. Cloud, far enough away to be insulated from their poor management and economic choices, along with the changes in their culture versus the culture that we have here.
What is your approach to handling controversial and complicated issues?
When time is not of the essence, gathering information of the facts and the people you represent is important. This is a representative governance, so having the consent and informed consent of the people is important, not ruling on edict, but on doing what they would like. Before we tear down a fence, it'd be a good idea to find out why the fence was there in the first place. But when time is critical, leadership needs to prioritize and execute find out what will kill us and stop the bleeding.
Okay. What previous community involvement have you had in Isani or another city?
My experience in government is limited to having been a member of the National Guard for over 10 years. However, I'm very involved in the community, having helped campaign for a few candidates, coaching my kids' soccer team, taking our children to many local events, community education. I also volunteer at my church about 8 times a month, doing security and running live stream services. And I also work in the city across from the rodeo grounds.
Okay. What skills and experience do you have that you believe are beneficial to being a council member?
I have a deep interest in theology, politics, and philosophy. My wife has told me that I'm the least emotional person she knows, and I make my decisions in a very logical, analytical manner with great attention to detail. I'm a very quick study and have been thrown into many situations that I did not have formal experience or training, but still persevered. An example, during my time in the National Guard, I was asked to backfill for some administrative troops that have deployed to Afghanistan. I was non-administratively trained, but I took over payroll for 60 soldiers and accounts payable with millions of dollars in the account and didn't have any payroll issues.
Explain what you believe are the primary roles and responsibilities of a city council member.
I believe it's to represent the people of the city and to act on their behalf and in their defense, to research upcoming decisions, be willing to discuss the findings and make a decision that would be in the best interests of the people of Isani.
What do you believe are the top priorities or greatest issues facing the city, and how do you see yourself contributing to finding solutions to those issues?
Everyone I've talked to, their primary concern is either maintaining taxes or lowering taxes. However, with the city growing, that's going to be difficult. We also need to maintain and, if possible, improve the conditions of our roads with a concern towards safety and also planning for long-term projects like the water with the well that needs to be done, forecasting that so that it's not a big surprise or need to take out bonds to cover it.
If you could change some aspect about City Isani governance, direction, or focus, what would that be?
I would like it to see it easier for people of the city to be notified about upcoming agenda points. I know it's on the website, but having an email get pushed out or other means to push it out, like text message prompts to let people know that there is something outside of just the RSS feed or what you put on social media.
Okay. City council requires a time commitment which includes 4 to 6 meetings per month, 2 Tuesdays per month, beginning at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., as well as reading prep prior to meetings. Will this fit in with your other commitments?
Yes, it will.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
I'd like to thank the council for their time and consideration. I don't have a degree, I'm just an ordinary guy, but I'm of the belief that this makes me a representative of our community. My family loves this community, and we want to maintain its charm and culture.
Okay. So I have my few questions here. Would you be able to make your work schedule at all flexible for committee meetings?
My boss is very approachable and willing to work out with me on stuff, so it depends on the time and day, but he's definitely open to that talk.
Okay. Are you willing to utilize Facebook and social media to try and help with resident interaction and informing the public on what's going on within the city?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How long have you lived in Isani?
I'll be 7 years in March.
What will be the most challenging aspect of being on city council for you personally?
The finer details of the budget planning and the long-term projection stuff. I'm good with math, but the minutia of it I'm not read up on.
Okay. How do you view spending on amenities and how do you justify it?
Planning for our 5th kid on a single income, I don't have the ability to spend money that I don't have. I don't think the city should either. So if the people want it and they want it bad enough, then they need to be made aware of what it's going to cost them and be upfront and transparent with what the actual cost would be, not an optimistic cost, but the worst case scenario. If that's the will of the people, then that's the will of the people.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering the questions, and I appreciate you putting your name in the hat. So we have all of the candidates were interviewed. I suppose now we just have to make a vote. And before these are read, I would like to say a thanks to everybody for coming in. We do have other board opportunities. I think all four of you are great. I appreciate the experience that all of you bring to the table. We do have an open seat on economic development, an open seat on the planning commission, open seat on the park board. So I would encourage anybody that does not receive this seat tonight to apply for one of those. The applications are on the back table, so you could fill that out tonight and turn it in and get your foot in the door with the city. So I appreciate you guys all coming out.
It is a good way to learn a lot more about government and get to know your council members and.
And your
it
community.
will give you a little more influence and access, I think, which would go a long way if you applied for another seat. Yeah, we had a great group of candidates this time.
I would be happy with any of you guys, so I really appreciate the good turnout.
All right, with that being said, we have a vote for Nicholas Pedersen. Another vote for Nicholas Pedersen. And another vote for Nicholas Pedersen. That's unanimous.
Well, good job, guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Congratulations, Nick. And like I said, all of you guys were all great candidates. I would be pleased with any of you. So please, if you want to get involved, applications are back there, and I would love to see some applications come in. So next.
So at this time, we are going to give the oath of office to Nicholas Pedersen. Are we saying that correctly? Peterson. Okay, sorry. Nicholas Peterson, if you want to step up, Ms. Strand will give you the oath of office, and you'll be able to take your seat this evening.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Nicholas Peterson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution
to support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of Minnesota,
of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of council member
the duties of council member
of the City of Isani,
of the City of Isani,
Minnesota,
Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment
to the best of my judgment
and ability.
and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. You may take your seat.
Councilmember Peterson, you have an agenda packet before you there, so if you'd like to turn to page 17 of the packet.
And-
So-
And turn on your microphone, please. It's right there. You just press the button about it. There you go.
So council, mayor and council, we do have resolution with representing our city commissions, designating committees and representing city commissions before you. This was discussed at the January city council meeting, first of the year meeting. However, now with our new council member, it's open for discussion if we'd like to make any changes to the commissions, boards, and advisory committees list.
So Nick, I'm not sure if you were aware of any of the boards or many of them at all, but I didn't know if you had any interest in any. That was one thing that I was concerned about. That's why I asked about the committee meeting flexibility. I was hoping that you might be able to take one or two, and I guess that could be up for discussion. I was also going to ask Steve tonight if he had maybe considered any other committees that he could do. Honestly, I have too many. I don't mind it, but I feel like it's kind of a little bit unfair for me to have so many, so I would like to spread out one or two to you or Steve.
I'd be willing to take them. It would just depend on when they're scheduled for, but I
Okay.
would definitely like to take on some of them.
Okay. So we have, let's see. I think probably the simplest one, I think, for you, for us, would be the Chamber of Commerce one. That one does meet. It's a luncheon technically, so you might have to take some time off from lunch at work to go up to it. It meets usually, I believe it's the third Wednesday of every month at 11:45 to 1 p.m. So you eat lunch, and then they usually have some sort of programming. I use it as an opportunity to network with the community. And I think it's good. Obviously, they have a feel for being able to come to one of us and just ask a question. I get asked questions there all the time. Stephanie does as well. She's at almost all of those, so I don't know that's absolutely necessary you make it to all of them. I don't go to all of them. I go to probably 80%. There's some that I don't think add value to the city, so I don't go to those necessarily, but that would be one that I think might be a good fit, and it's not a huge commitment. You would have to take an extended lunch break for it, but luckily you work close, so. They do meet usually around the Cambridge area, sometimes Isani, sometimes Bram, but usually Cambridge. Otherwise, there is the school liaison one. I've been approached by multiple people and they want me to stay on that one, so I wouldn't like to probably stay on that, unless you have a strong desire to do that one.
I do not. We do homeschooling, so I would
Okay.
probably be a fish out of water on that.
Okay. Well, I don't have any kids, so I'm a fish out of water on it too, but, okay. That's fine. Otherwise, I think the rest are all pretty good. George, are you pretty happy with the, fire district and the park and rec board?
I am so busy lately, that's the problem. That fire board has a lot of moving parts to it, and it's gonna be a learning curve for whoever's on that board. I'm on the park and rec. I'd be fine if you'd be, that's a schedule for the fire board.
I think you are
You know what
best
days of the week these
Just
are?
one day a week, one day a month, and that's,
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays I couldn't do. That's when I volunteer at church, doing security, so.
Okay.
But does the cable TV liaison, does that have to be the mayor?
None of most of those other ones don't really ever meet, so it's just defaulted to the mayor.
Okay, so the only ones that actually meet are fire district, the school liaison.
Chamber of Commerce, CI Bike Walk Trail, that's only once a year, and Jeff expressed interest for keeping that. And then the League of Minnesota Cities, I would like to stay on that. I'm not sure how firm Jeff was on that. I assume you're happy still staying on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, I guess the Chamber of Commerce, if you wanted to just start there, if you think you could do the lunch one. Otherwise, the school liaison one, it's kind of, that usually meets on Thursday nights, the school board.
I could tentatively do the Chamber of Commerce, but I would need to be tentative, and I'll talk to my boss,
Sure.
and if I can get that scheduled, make sure that he's gonna be okay with the extended luncheon.
Okay.
Are those hard times for end, or do they go much past?
No, they're always right on time, like to the minute. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Okay.
Michelle does a very good job running those efficiently, so. Or Melissa, sorry. Okay, if we could maybe tentatively pencil you in for that. And then these do kind of change throughout the year, so it's not a huge problem. I don't think if we have to change, maybe Steve will end up wanting to take one of these or a couple, or I guess we'll see, go from there.
Did you want to stay on community ed? Is that something you're passionate about, or?
No, if you want to do that, then-
Our kids are involved in it a lot, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
It directly affects me, so.
yeah, you can do it.
Would you have any interest in, I don't know, maybe George doesn't want the park board as much, maybe you could take the park board, he could
No,
focus on the
of all
fire?
the boards, the park board is one
Okay.
I actually wouldn't mind. But I think each board has a different set of responsibilities and time that you need to spend doing that committee. So just, I think the responsibility should be divvied up more evenly, that's all.
Sure. Jeff, I know you had some interest potentially in the school stuff, I think. correct? I mean, we could still work on splitting that too. We could just do, I don't know, what is that? Could do mayor and you as the alternate or whatever, and we can just communicate who can make each, if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, that all sounds good, then I think we, got one off of my plate here, so that's a plus, and I think that everybody seems to be pretty well aligned with what each of these are.
And, you know, if things happen, you just send out a text, and if one of us can make it, that, you know, I think we can work through these issues, and our schedules are not always gonna work perfectly. But if we rely on us as a group, we can have representation at, I think, almost all these, so.
Sounds good. Do we need a motion on those?
We do need a motion for the resolution. If you could just reiterate who's taking which ones, if which ones are changing, that would be great.
Okay, so the Chamber of Commerce liaison, that would be Nicholas Peterson, depending on schedule. And then the only other one that I believe changed from that was the school liaison could be Mayor or Holmgren.
Then the public education,
Oh, yeah, yep,
Nick was gonna take.
Community ed.
community ed.
Yep.
And you, George, you are still taking the fire district and the park board?
I guess for now.
Okay.
I would still like to see Steve back on the fire board. I just think he's best suited for it. He's been on it a long time. I know where we were talking term limits, and we should have a different set of eyes on it, but he is so familiar with it, and I don't believe, I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys on that board. He isn't gonna be able to sway it too much. I just think he's the best guy for that board. And he likes it. You know, he's been doing it a long time.
He also has background as a firefighter too, so that,
What?
he has background as a firefighter as well, so that helps him to be better suited for it.
Does Steve? Was he on a fire?
I don't think so. I think he's been on the fire board so long, though.
Right.
But I guess I don't know.
I'm almost positive he was also a fire
Okay,
It
member,
was like well over a decade,
firefighter.
okay.
but
It wasn't in my adult life, I guess. I don't remember that long ago. Jeff, do you know if he was a firefighter?
I can't say.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I know we had talked about it last year where we thought we should get a new face in there, and I'm still kind of on the same field. I don't know that I could sway my vote to change on that. It's a real bummer that he doesn't want to take any of these other committee meetings, and I know that he's passionate about the fire stuff, but I think some change vote might be good for a year.
So what happens if we can't agree to it 100%? Then we just go to a vote on it?
Yeah, so my recommendation would be that we take that item, that committee separately, vote on the rest of the committee appointments as a whole, and then vote on that one separately.
The person who would like to be on on that committee, could they vote for themselves?
Yes, they
Yes,
could vote. If they
right.
don't have a conflict, they could
Right.
vote.
Okay. Just wondering if it'd be a full board vote or not.
So we're gonna have to, basically, we're bringing that back next month. Is that what you're asking?
Well, if Steve would like to be on it, I'd like to see him on it. But
So that's the council's decision, choice, if you'd like to postpone that appointment to the next meeting and vote on it separately, or you could vote on it separately this evening.
We could make a vote tonight and see what happens.
I would like to see Steve be on the board if we make that vote. I mean, I'll do it. We'll, I'll just do it for another month and see how it goes. See if I have the time to study their budget and all the moving parts. I mean, I'll do the best I can on it.
Would you have more interest in the school board?
I would like to do that, but that's a daytime thing, and right now I don't have time. Another year, things are gonna change, I'm hoping, and I'll have a whole day to be able to do whatever I want.
The school board meets at 6:30 PM on Thursdays. If that changes your perspective on that,
How many times a month?
once,
No.
okay. Oy.
I'm only saying that because my schedule just feels so full right now. I mean, since the election, things have just went crazy with my work. We're short on people. I was late for the meeting tonight, which it's only happened like once before. And I don't think I'm gonna see things change for at least a couple, 2, 3 months till we can get some more people hired. And too much on my plate, and I want to be able to do justice to each committee I'm on and do a good job. That's all. And the committees I have are like the Park and Rec and the Fire Board. Those are almost as important as what we're doing right here.
What if you were to take the school board stuff and I were to take the fire?
You do such a great job reporting the school board stuff.
You could do it too.
Once a month?
I don't know, I'm just throwing an idea out there. I don't know how the rest of council feels about it, so.
Well, I always thought you did such a great job on that. Just, we'll keep it the way it is, and we can have another discussion when we have a full board.
Okay. That sounds fair to me. So did you get those committees?
Yes, so Mayor and Council, I have that Peterson will be on the community education, Holmgren will be on the school board, and Peterson will be on the Chamber of Commerce.
Yep, with me as a school board as well, correct? Just adding Holmgren?
We can do that, or there's the caveat on all of them that
Just council?
anyone can appoint another member in their place.
Okay.
So
But I would be on there still as well. It'd be mayor and council, or,
we can have it that way, yes.
okay. Sounds good, and we'll see, I guess, what next month brings on that. Okay. Was there anything else for item K1?
Nope, that is it. Unless there was any other changes to any, to the mayor pro tem, that is it for K1.
Okay. Any changes on pro tem? Still good? Nick George is the pro tem mayor, so if I'm not here, he'll be running the meetings. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we will move on to K2, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for a Rum River BMX Governor's Cup event.
We do need a motion.
Oh, sorry. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second?
So you'd
Just
be
for the committees.
Motion to pass it next month?
Yeah, well, what she had said, yes. So what we had
Second.
already decided, and then we'll come back to fire discussion next month.
Second?
Okay. All right, motion from Councilmember Heeman, second from Councilmember Peterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, so now K2, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for Rum River BMX Governor's Cup event.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Rum River BMX is requesting a special event permit for their Governor's Race Cup. The event will take place January 24th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., January 25th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and January 26th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for a total of a 3-day event. It will be held at the Isanti Indoor Arena and is expected to host 800 to 1,000 people per day. The event is open to the public and is to include multiple BMX bike races throughout the weekend. Public Services Director has given his approval, Matt Sylvester has given his approval with the exception that plowing during the event may be difficult and it may have to wait until after the event, just depending on when we get snow and what their time looks like, as is usual for these events. The applicants are here if you have any additional questions or if they'd like to speak.
You guys would like to come forward? Okay. I had a question. How was the New Year's event? How did that go? I don't know if maybe he needs to come up to answer that question. He can talk about, advertise your next event. I was just really curious because it sounded like a really great idea and I wanted to know what the turnout was like.
Tim Dosinski, 101 Isanti Parkway. Actually, it turned out really well. So everything went off as a hitch. We did first gate drop at 12:01. All the kids had fun. It was a pretty great night. Yeah.
That's good. Glad to hear. Is there anything extra you'd like to say about the Governor's Cup event or any sort of advertising you got?
not really. Well, I guess this is our second year doing the Governor's Cup. A lot of people from a lot of different states travel in for this one. It's a 3-day overall event, so if you do end up being a champion of this event, you take home a pretty sizable cup, you know. It kind of mirrors a older event that used to run back in the ABA days before USA BMX came in. So we kind of wanted to bring that back and see how well it tracked, and it tracked really well last year, so we wanted to do it again this year, and everybody has a lot of fun over the 3 days.
Great. And I believe work started there on the roof bolt?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there yesterday and I believe today too, yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for the update, and good job being a member of our community that's
You worked it
strong.
out with the contractor and everything, so it's gonna be,
Yeah, the pre-con meeting went well. Everybody got questions answered. I think everything's going well with that, yeah.
perfect.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Heeman, second by Councilmember Holmgren. If all in favor? Any opposed? A motion carries 4-0. Item K3, 2024 Illuminate Isani recap and discussion.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Before you, you'll see a financial report for Illuminate Isani 2024. I did have Finance Director Becker pull the numbers. You'll notice that there is a little caveat on the bottom that we still do get some random miscellaneous invoices sometimes that trickle in, but nothing should be greatly impacting this budget. They'll just be small if there are any. So you'll see that the operating budget originally was planned for $20,819 for this year, with an additional $7,000 budgeted for staff time, for overtime, and specifically the 3 seasonals that we were allotted to hire for this event, with a total operating budget of $27,819. Operating expenses, I'm happy to report the total operating budget for this year, expenses, was $14,702.85, and with an additional $4,164 in staff time. So both of those sections did come under budget, and the total operating expenses, including staffing, overtime, is $18,867.29. So about $9,000 under budget of what we originally prepared for. I did want to put in here that the total public works time during the event was stated on here, and so we did factor that out. And we haven't done this for previous years, but we did monitor it this year. And so we figured it out to be about 720 hours, which comes to about $39,600. That's taking an average of their benefits and pay of the middle, like median of the public works employees. The total event account balance since 2022, so this is our first initial investment plus last year and this year's additional $18,867, not including our regular work time hours into this. They haven't been factored in, is $163,740. This does not include any of the monetary sponsorships or donations taken out of it this year, so that $18,000 is before we add in the sponsorships. So that $9,000 that we received isn't included. But that's kind of where we are now, is discussing the potential. You guys wanted to see where we were to see what we were gonna give back to the volunteers due to the limited amount of donations, which was $798.74. And so that's my recap for you. I did give you a little blurb on the bottom about like estimated costs for next year, what I think it would cost. And so that's taking out some of the things. We had already purchased the boom lift, so I took that off of there for next year, since that portion was already in there and we own it now, which is now an asset, which if you want Mike to go in that further, he can. And then also, rugs for the amphitheater were purchased. We don't need to purchase them again, but we would probably want to consider cleaning them, getting them cleaned, as well as still needing replacement cords. The canvas is good for the gingerbread house, so we wouldn't need to replace that next year. And then leaving the same amount for display replacements and no stanchions. And then the restrooms, if we just use standard restrooms, it's about $709, because we didn't get the heated donated, just because it's too difficult for the length of time. And then also saying no new displays, and Santa for 3 Saturdays. And so that would be roughly $19,384. And then the total estimated cost to not have any event and just have just the lights on would be approximately $15,000. Just because we will still need replacement cords if we need them. We want to make sure we have enough budget in case something goes wrong. You guys were there and saw what can happen to the music and different things. So we want to be prepared instead of not having that money ready in case we need it. Doesn't mean we always use it, but when we have to, we want to be able to, if we're going to do it, we want to be able to do it well. So, questions?
So at the end of the day, the brass tacks actually talk about numbers. We went in the hole roughly $50,000 this year. You have the total operating expenses of the event and then overtime staffing at roughly $19,000. Public Works at roughly $39,000, and then roughly $9,000 of donations total. That comes out to about 50 grand. So that's what it costs
Correct.
us to put it on after all the expenses and the donations this year.
I do want to state that that doesn't include my staff time or Jessica's staff time, so
And
Park and Rec coordinator.
I know you worked a lot on it, and I really appreciate that.
So just wanted to be clear about that. We didn't factor in our own hours, just because it'd be a lot to go back, but.
Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable. We tried this year, and I really hope that we would have had, a few dollars more donations. I was really hoping that, everybody would come in and they'd see a QR code and think, hey, maybe I should donate a couple bucks so we can keep this going, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately, and I don't see how we can continue to spend that much staff time and money on it. Although I know some of the staff loves doing it. I think the staff does a great job with it, but I just don't know how we can continue to sustain that type of spending. It is a great amenity. If it was $20,000 a year, maybe it'd be worth that sort of, expenditure to provide a service for our people. But in my opinion, I just don't see $50,000.
Another thing that's not listed on here, though, would be the modification of the PD to handle storage or the creation of a storage place, too. So there would be additional costs in trying to alleviate having to have access control.
Correct.
I'm in agreement with you.
You can't argue with it. I knew this thing would become a money pit. I was hoping we'd be able to find a way that it would not become one, or at least get the cost down to what it costs to do our 4 street dances a year. Then maybe I could almost get on board with it because, it's a winter event, but man.
Is there any way that we could just say, we're gonna have Illuminate Sandy, get the one Illuminate Sandy thing out there, and then whenever, only when Public Works staff has literally nothing to do, they go out there and put out lights just to fill the time. And if you get out 6 light shows, 6 light fixtures, great. If you don't get out any, so be it. Because that would be, smaller cost, and we're already paying them, and we don't wanna just sit around.
That
But-
is one of the things we did propose last year, was do we just put out the big tree and the big snowman, the stuff that we have infrastructure in place for already in the park that we use the lull for, but it's a one-day thing to put those large things, the present. There's a few larger things that are easier to put out there. So there's lots of ways to scale it in a way that's more manageable than a long month event. Like, leaving the stuff out there for a long time just adds more to our hours because we're out there repairing and fixing stuff. We saw the windstorm that came through. If that happened every week, we would have spent more days out there. And so it's just really hard to sustain for a 30-day time frame. I think that's part of it too. So it's just finding the right scale for us if we want to continue doing this. Is it just putting out the large stuff? I don't know. It's up to you guys to decide how much you guys want to keep investing into this. We hear good, positive things. I think it was a really positive experience for people. They had it there. I know Josie has some more information on numbers for it, for who attended, but.
What,
So,
I'm sorry, yeah, what were the numbers?
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, I did do a free demo to get some information from GPS data with a company. I don't have they're putting together like a package of everything, but the numbers that they shared with what they have for estimates without doing all the legwork is approximately 5,000 people over the entire month. They have lots of breakdowns, and I'm excited to share that with you just so we can get more insight on the event. Just wasn't prepared. They haven't sent it to me quite yet. But definitely did show the data that weekends were popular, weekday, not popular at all. I think Wednesday and Thursday were the lowest attendance numbers. Definitely Saturday was the highest. It also showed that the area that people were coming from was not just City of Isani. Actually, the percentage was pretty low of City of Isani residents. The whole 55040 Isani zip code was less than 50%, I believe, with the rough estimate numbers that they sent to me. When they showed the pattern of the color blotches of where everyone was coming from, it was scattered, which was very cool to see that we had some far-reaching people coming. Places to eat was kind of an interesting fact. It wasn't here before they came to the event, so they can pull that data. It'll be pretty exciting to show you once I receive it. Kind of see where there are some areas that we can improve upon when we're doing events. Yeah, pretty good information that'll be coming our way very soon.
And I can give you the last 2 years' numbers as well. I pulled them up. So if we had about 5,000 in 2022, we had 4,224, which we had tickets, so it was easier for us to see exactly how many people. This year was more difficult, and why it's these numbers are nice for the cell phone data. And then in 2023, it was 3,820 people. So we did get more people this year in the month-long timeframe.
So roughly 5,000 people at $50,000 expenditure, that means each person would have to donate $10 for it to ever be sustainable. It's
And half the
not,
people weren't even from the city of Isani.
Right, so the price doubled. It's $20 for people in the zip code, but not even from the city. But then, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Sam's Christmas Village or the Miracle on the Hill, but those are so close and do it so much better. I know we talked about trying to get someone to buy Illuminated Isani, but maybe see if they just want more stuff to add to their displays.
yeah, selling the displays or,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, the only way this would have ever worked is go big or go home, and then it may not have worked. And even with the numbers we have right now, at 5,000 this year, you're right. We would have still broke even at best. And that's if those 5,000, only half of those people would have paid. So we would have only have half that attendance if we were still charging a ticket price. There's really only two options, just to do it. like you
Super
said,
bare
hang it up,
bones.
Or, yeah, super minimal. And I think what really draws people there is the experience. And there was a little bit of an experience, you know, that we both volunteered a night there. And it's too bad that it's gonna cost this much every year, and possibly more if we keep going in with this, in the same direction as we are now. I don't think we have to make a decision on this tonight. I think Steve should get a little bit of input on this too, in my opinion, even though it sounds like we're all pretty much in the same idea what direction it should go. But
Is there any input from the crowd? Anybody attend the Illuminate Isani this year?
come on up if you'd like to. Just state your name and address for the record. I'd love to hear input on this. This has been a
No
tough one.
kidding.
We've tried so many different things in the last 2 years.
Nathan Chapman, 425 Eagle Street. I went, my son really enjoyed it. He got to see Santa Claus, that was nice. It was really pretty. We got to do some pictures and stuff. Even the cat was kind of cool, just having a big excavator there was nice too. Overall, we spoke highly of it after the event. I don't think I donated, although I also didn't know the fiscal side. So
Right.
Had I probably would have.
Is it worth?
It's unfortunate that it's not really sustainable, clearly. If there was an ability to give more people and more money, it would be nice, but at this point, it just doesn't seem sustainable to me either.
Great.
I know you and I had talked about putting more clear donation type signs or boxes out, but I think even if we did, I guess we'll never know, but I don't think we're gonna.
Hey, we're not gonna break even.
It's not
Nobody's,
even gonna make a dent.
it's not gonna, you're never gonna make the money back. It would be nice if we could just sustain at what we spent and that's it. But you'd have to, like I said, $10 per person would be the donation amount, and that's never gonna happen. You know, if you bring you and your 3 kids and your wife or whatever, $50, nobody's gonna donate $50 to a city-ran event. I just don't know how you go from here if there's a way that somebody could take it over. I would love to still have the event in the city limits, but not with the city taking it. You just can't take the hit, and I think maybe a private business could do a better job with it. You know, they can do more. Our hands are kind of tied because we can't be seen as favorites, so if we got, you know, one thing from somebody and something else from somebody else, I think it handcuffs us, and we just have more overhead. Our guys are, you know, our public works guys are paid well, and it's, you know, without an actual business running it, I think it's just too hard.
You could try scaling it back and doing volunteers. If people are willing to volunteer their time, then it might be worth it.
Sure.
Like you said, just do like the big pieces out there. Something that lights up the neighborhood. It gives everybody just a little bit of sense of, hey, that's really cool to drive by.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, and if there was something just to go see too, would be nice, or a picture photo opportunity or something like that. And then, hey, if you can chip in $1, we'd really appreciate it, sort of thing. And if it was mostly volunteer-based, then you'd have a lot less overhead.
Right. Or if we use public works staff when there's literally nothing going on. I don't know if that ever happens in public works. You know, this winter's been a little slow because not much snow, so they're not plowing much. I don't know what they do during other times. I'm sure there's a list of things, but if there's any lulls where it's like, yeah, this guy has nothing to do today, we could have him go put up lights on a tree, you know?
Yeah, there can be some more lulls more times than others, especially if they're not plowing, but they are always busy, and there's a lot of maintenance projects that wait to the winter time.
Okay.
So it's not being done during high peak. Capital improvements get done. General maintenance, like cleaning, you know, repacking, different things in the water and the wastewater plant, they're always busy. I would say, to speak on behalf of Matt, definitely things have been pushed out farther than he'd like to see them, and
Okay.
probably speaking for the guys too, because they've been doing Illuminate. Although they all are great, in great moods and, you know, always happy to help and do events all the time, you're not gonna hear them complain. But definitely there's not a lull or like a lack of work, I should say. They're all incredibly busy and all the time, but they will make any event work that is deemed appropriate for the city and adjust as needed.
Last year you gave us a deadline because you needed to know by a certain date, which I don't remember what it was, to be able to go out and get donations, and what was that date? Or month?
Ideally, the earlier the better, right?
Right.
Like, so the sooner the better. I mean, right now would be great. I'm not saying you need to but if we could do it in February, that really gives us a lot more time.
Could we maybe say, hey, we're gonna do this really scaled back and only based on donations? So say if a company comes forward and gives us $5,000, we spend $5,000 of staff time or whatever to put up as much as we can in that $5,000 and it's done. And if we don't get any more donations, nothing else. But if we get another 1,000 in, then we send them out for another $1,000 worth. So it's just a net zero type of thing. Is that something that would be, I mean, it's,
way too hard to plan for that then. Be just from my perspective, what if we get all of a sudden 10 grand in October? And we already have, you know, I don't know, it makes it difficult to plan and then promote for also. So if we can't promote, then we get less people. So just.
I can't wait to get these Facebook polls going and figure out a way to do better polling. Listen to the gentleman we had up here tonight, they had a lot of great ideas, and it'd be really nice to get more of our citizens to really give us more input of what they see might need to be done, or where they would like their city dollars spent for entertainment. If we even want to budget money for entertainment and decide if it's even our responsibility to do. That's why I was asking the question, see how much longer we can put this off before we just kill it completely, or just, like you said, bare minimum. But if we have a little bit more time to make that decision, it'd be nice.
Sure.
I think it would be easier to set like a day, like in Public Works could probably give us a good idea of what they could do in a day. And maybe you said, you know, we'll give you 2 days to this event this year. And so what can you do in 2 days? And then we would know. I think that would be an easier way for
Is
for
there
us to
any,
plan.
is there any room on Main Street to put any of that? We had a couple empty lots, I mean, just asking.
Roundabout's coming.
The electric power that we have in the park for it is really important and a large amount of the expenses over time. So like the
Sure.
tree has to be anchored down, like it's anchored down with footings and same with the snowman. So, just keeping those things in mind, it's not as easy to move to a new location as we would like it to be.
Okay.
I like that idea, though.
Yeah, right, just kind of maybe try to spread a little bit of it around town if we could, and it wasn't,
That's still staff time too, though.
right.
So-
I get it.
Is there liability or legality reasons why if a business wants to sponsor it, they can't just get a portion of the area and then bring in their own stuff, tear up and take down?
We did do that in a few spots.
That was permitted this year. However, I mean, we did have DW who came and put their excavator in, and do we have any others?
Minco was also here, they had their house up, and so we had 2 businesses who took on that. We did get other people who donated who just didn't have time to put up their own thing, and so.
Nathan, you had something to add?
Yeah, I kind of lost my place there a little bit, though. If it was even possible to scale it back by like half the time and half the amount, it maybe. But also times are really tough right now for people, and it's kind of understandable. Even if it was like an on-hold thing, maybe, and then it could be brought back at a later date, maybe that's an option. I don't know. It really depends on if you want to try and recoup some of that money now, or you want to try to recoup some of that money later.
Sure. Chris, you had some comments. If you don't mind, you can come forward. Thank you, Nathan. We appreciate that. Any input you got? Let's hear it.
Honestly, I've only been there once in the 3 years that we've been here. It didn't appeal to me. I saw more people using the sledding hill than actually walking around the illuminated Isani. I know it was cold out. Honestly, I think it's a waste of money, but that's just me, so I don't know. I wasn't very attracted to it. The family wasn't. It's just, he saw some friends, and then they all went to the sledding hill, so.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I had to really say, so.
Would you
Okay.
completely just not do it, or would you try a scale down approach?
No, if you're gonna scale down, it's not that big right now anyways. So what are you gonna do, put up 3 things? And I just don't think it's worth the money to do, so. But yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could?
Yep.
Perhaps maybe the direction, or if you'd like to give to staff, is we go to a drawing board and think of different ideas. Instead of thinking of how to scale back Illuminate Isani, maybe we go with something different. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I wish I could because I'm bringing this up. Like when the city became a city, became incorporated, if that happened to be in the winter month, we could do like a lighting event with the tree, you know, because we already have the anchors over in Bluebird Park, and do something completely different that is at a lower cost and can bring the community together.
Okay.
Staff can talk about ideas. Maybe, you know, you could reach out to the constituents as well, but we can come up with something just for other options.
Sure. Danelle, did you have something that you wanted to say? Come on forward. State your name and address, please.
Danelle Van Vliet, 508 Moline Loop. Why don't you just sell it all off?
That would be a,
Like, you could sell each individual piece and make money for the city.
Yeah, I don't know what the resale is on that sort of thing, but that's definitely something to consider because, I mean,
I mean, it was nice this year, but if it's not making money, if it's just causing the tax dollars more money.
right. Yep, we're in agreement. Thank you. Anybody else
Nope, I say we bring it back next month.
with some creative ideas?
Creative ideas, and we can look this over a little bit better, and maybe people in the community have better ideas, and they can reach out to us or city. But you can't keep losing this type of money
No.
every year.
Right.
That's crazy.
I'd like to see Bluebird Park let up a little bit for the winter time, as long as we got all this leftover stuff. I mean, maybe some of the, like, tree lights.
I like the
maybe
tree lights.
You know, a few things like that would be nice. We have the sledding hill there.
And I like the idea of the downtown Isani stuff because I've had 2 people ask me about why don't we wrap our light poles or do something in downtown Isani.
And I did look into the cost of that. We did make our own snowflakes for the park, which go through the park. And I figured it'd be about $80 per snowflake per light pole. We have 24 light poles. You could do every other one or whatever. So just giving you that in this as well. But then another probably $20 to $30 per light strands for each light pole. So just roughly $100 is what I figured.
But I definitely think it is possible that we can make brackets to the displays we have, and it doesn't have to all be the same.
Right.
It could just be, you know, a lighted structure that we put out there, and they could be different. One could be a deer and one, or reindeer. You know, one could be a snowflake or something like that. I think that could be definitely one of the options we explore, repurposing.
Yeah.
Another thought is our retail, maybe reach out to some of our retail and see if they want to put out some of these bigger displays themselves for the holiday season.
Oh, and lease it?
Like, yeah, one big one out on, you know, at Colburn's, maybe a gas station, one, who knows? I mean, they're cool and they draw people. Just another thought, especially if the resale value isn't much, and that way we can kind of, like I said, light up the town in different areas.
It's a good idea. All right, so you don't need a motion or anything on that, do you?
We actually do, because we were, the original reason why we brought this
Oh.
up was for the donations to the volunteers. And so they were supposed to get 40% of the donations, which ended up being roughly $53 per organization who volunteered. In previous years, they've received $500 in donations from the city for contracting to work these events. And so that was really what led us to getting the final numbers as soon as we could, is so that we could pay these volunteers.
So I have a question on that. So last year, I had never heard anything about paying the volunteer groups. I probably would have said something about it then, but to me, if you volunteer as an organization, it's volunteering. And it's just hard pressed for me to say, hey, the taxpayer should pay you now to run this event because you volunteered your time. So I don't know where that came from. I don't remember ever seeing that last year. You know, the previous year I wasn't involved with it, so I'm not really sure, but I'm just hard pressed to say we should give them $500 when they volunteered their time. Now, I think Steve's idea of contributing the whole, what was it, $790 or whatever to them as a kind gesture, I don't think that's unreasonable. But at the same time, it's still taxpayer money. As soon as it gets to the city, it's still taxpayer money. So I don't know how we do that, but I would not be in favor of the 500, that's for sure.
We did start doing the 500 right from the get-go, so that was always a thing both previous years. But we do find that volunteer organizations only volunteer now to help them, their
That's not volunteering
organization.
then, yeah.
Right, it was actually as a contracted group,
Yes.
because council decided, or it was decided upon, well, yeah, council, I guess, but, that it would be instead of hiring staff, because the options are, you need people to run the event, to have activities and such going on at the event. So that was a way, instead of having to hire seasonal staff, which is difficult to do as well, plus you're having to go through all the payroll, rigmarole, whatever, for just a few, weeks or whatever for the event. So that was an alternative to that.
We're-
And the cost actually of the $500 for the group, because that's a big group of people, it's not per person, just to make sure we're clear. It was less money when the analysis was done of per person of a part-time employee.
So
That's also doing liability, work comp and all that. So
Yeah.
just for context.
$3,000 for 6 groups to volunteer is a steal of a deal. We would pay our employees a lot more, probably $3,000 per person being there during that time. So it really is a win-win when you look at it overall, and the money then stays within the community as well.
But it's not a win-win for our taxpayers. And were they promised $500 when they volunteered?
Not this year was based upon donations and 40%, but I am just saying if we do decide to continue doing any of this moving forward, we will likely get 0 volunteers from now on.
Maybe.
So, after working multiple events, volunteers are the hardest thing to find right now. People are tapped out, they're involved in a lot of things. You see a lot of the same people at the same things doing everything, and civic engagement is at an all-time low. So just keeping that in mind.
Maybe that's because taxes continue to go up. You have people that are, hurting, and we talk about taxes and all this stuff, and if we're just giving our taxpayer money away to people that volunteer in the first place with the understanding that they're gonna get 40%, obviously, we expected or hoped for more donations so that 40% would have meant more to them, and the 60 would have meant more to us, but that's just not what happened. So it's not like they were told,